Hello, and welcome to the Destiny Expanse podcast, where we talk about all things Destiny. I'm Callan, and join with me today, as always, the man with the plan, Charger. Joe, what's up, man?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hey, how was your weekend?
3-day weekend, you'd normally be pretty excited about that. I had two weddings this weekend, so I've been absolutely slammed.
Brutal.
But don't want to forget, Memorial Day weekend. Remember all those people that have fallen in the line of duty for this great country. So
Absolutely, man. And thank you to all of our service members out there, both local and abroad. And we're talking police, fire department, as well as our military and veterans. A lot of thanks and a lot of love go out to all those people who put it down and sacrifice every day. So, all right, man, let's get this going. Today, we are going to talk about what's the difference between Destiny and Destiny 2. Now, on the surface, Destiny 2 looks an awful lot like vanilla Destiny, which has led an outcry among some gamers that Destiny 2 is actually just big DLC. And should we be calling it Destiny 1.5? What are your thoughts?
boy, I could really fall on either side of the road here. And here's my back thought to this. We saw the reveal. The reveal was excellent. It was awesome. I loved it. I think between Bungie and Activision, they really go out of their way to do a lot of these pre-game launch activities. I know it's publicity for them and it's revenue from them, so on and so forth, but they put a heck of a lot into these things.
It's a show. It's a production. I mean, it's a show.
It is. It's a full-scale production. I mean, you got multiple YouTubers, streamers, other people from, different gaming communities,
Media.
podcasters, media, they're all there. They got, toys, loot on sale. Oh, I love some of those videos. Full size, life-size figurines or costumes up there and everything else like that. Plus the opportunity to play the game from a PvP, a strike, and a few other little perspectives of as far as the opening mission on Homecoming. But some of the things that they talked about, I'm a little torn on. And that's the main reason for this episode. What is Destiny 2? What's the difference between the original Destiny that we've all been playing for 3 years and have sunk a lot of time into, and what's coming up? Kind of gonna let you lead into it because I don't want to take away any of your thunder here. So we'll. I threw a little out there. Your turn to take the plate.
All right, I'm putting you on the spot, but for me, I thought the reveal was really cool. I think we both enjoyed it a lot. We talked about that in our last episode. Overall, initial impressions were great, but there were some minor things here and there, and I understand why people are upset. And I think the Destiny community, when they talk about just hot and cold, man, this Destiny community is ridiculous, in a good way and a bad way sometimes. But the game itself looks like Destiny. It looks like Destiny, just prettier. I mean, it's a little more polished. Now the health bars changed on enemies, on the elites and things like that. But at the base, at the core, is Destiny. I mean, that's when you see it. And for me, part of me was like, wow, this game, just looking at it visually, it was like, ooh, this looks really impressive. At the same time, part of me was like, this is kind of more of the same. It feels kind of samey, but at the same time, I'm like, oh man, it's samey, but I want it to be Destiny, and that's what it is at the core.
Well,
so I'm still going to get that tight gameplay. I'm going to get those badass supers, those supers, man. I mean, those supers look super. And I know that sounds like a stupid, cheesy pun, but come on. I mean, you see that Warlock whipping solar, whatever, flares. I don't know what it's doing, but it makes the Hammer of Soul look like trash. And I'm just, I'm super pumped. I remember seeing the Hammer of Soul in the reveal that they had, and I'm thinking, oh, wow, that
Yeah,
That
and then
looks
you played
awesome.
it, and you were like, wow. And if you heard it go live in the game, you're like, run.
Run. It was like the golden gun. You'd be like, yes, you're
Oh, it
right.
was
Don't
way
go
better. It was
that
way
way.
better than a golden gun.
Oh man. Well, yeah, just a ka-tink. And then plus you had way more shots. I mean, what, you
Exactly.
get 6 or 7 or 8 hammer throws. Uh yeah, Hammer of Soul was fantastic. But dude, this new Warlock super, this Dawn Blade or whatever, it's wow. My mind, as soon as I saw it, I was like, you can, I mean, you can slam the ground, you can, it's a melee attack. It's a ranged attack. It's gross. I mean, pretty awesome. So yeah, right out of the gate, I mean, they're running around doing the huge, shooting stuff in the face, and then wow, you get this Dawn Blade, and it's like, oh my god, that's freaking amazing. So am I excited for Destiny 2? Yeah, I'm super excited for Destiny 2. I understand the complaints about Destiny 2 looking like Destiny 1.5, looking like just big DLC with these updates. I mean, we still have 4 zones again, and I don't know why. With a game this size, we don't have the constraints. So you can't use that as an excuse anymore with the 360 and the PS3. You can't use that as an excuse anymore to be like, well, we couldn't make it bigger because we had to be tied down to these other consoles. You can make it bigger, uh, and I'm not entirely sure why we don't have access to like the moon and Venus and Mars uh,
Yeah.
in the area on Earth that we have right now, but at the same time, I think what they're trying to do is just make excuse me, a completely clean slate. And this is really what I want to get into with you is talking about what Bungie has repeatedly commented on, and that is how they want to make Destiny more accessible to the average gamer. And I mean, with these changes that they're adding, and there's a ton of changes. I think surface level Destiny 2 looks a lot like Destiny. And I would agree with that. The enemies look very similar to the enemies, if not the exact same. Some of them just feel like reskin with different abilities,
Well,
kind of like the Taken, right? I mean, that's what we see with the
and
Phalanx
it is,
in the
but
Cabal.
they had a little bit different traits and everything else like that. But the one thing that I don't understand, and I'm going to go off topic on Destiny here, if you look at any of the other game types, that are out, any other, I shouldn't say game types, I should just say games in general, the Gears of War franchise. Um, you played Gears of War, you know, it was the third person shooter over the shoulder, so on and so forth. From Gears 1, that was very, very fast, quick to handle, so on and so forth. And then you go into Gears 2, and it slowed everything way down. And I remember I was playing, man, that was a major downer. And then in Gears 3, they kind of put it, faster than Gears 2, but not quite as fast as Gears 1. But as far as the user interface on that, it was the same. Is much a credit as Bungie gets for the first person user interface that they use on that. I would not see them change that. And that's the one thing I think a lot of people are commenting on. Well, Destiny 2 just looks like Destiny 1 or just looks like 1.5. Well, how is it going to change? If you're a Call of Duty fan, how much has Call of Duty changed over the years?
It hasn't.
Besides the weapons or the skills or the perks, so on
No,
and so forth.
that's exactly it. I mean, that's a great point that you bring up because I mean, you talk about specifically Call of Duty. I know that the original Call of Duty games, very cut and dry, very singular driven, and then they exploded it with uh, what Modern Warfare and turned it as Juggernaut. But at the end of the day, you're still just shooting guys in the face. I mean, weapons
Mm-hmm.
change, the settings change, but that's it. And it's the same stuff. So, and this goes for all the franchises out there. I mean, not just stuff like Halo and Gears of War, but every franchise has very similar things, and they're the building blocks that make it what it is. And for me personally, it's I'm okay with that. I don't
Yeah.
care because I play this game for a reason. I enjoy this game a lot. I mean, we're sitting here making a podcast about it, right? We clearly like it. So why wouldn't I want more of it? And if they're going to, give me a, a better version of what it is today, then is that worth my $60? It's worth my $100 because that's what I paid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
that guy.
exactly. And to me, that's what it should be. I mean, uh, let's face it, there's a lot of us, if not all of us, feel that Destiny 1 was chopped up, spit out, and then buffed around the corners after it was delivered to all of us.
It was an
I mean,
early access game. I
and
mean, let's face it, that it is what it is. It was
it
an early
was,
access game.
even though it came out late, it still felt like an early access game. It read out like an early access game. It played out like an early release game.
And it was plagued with mistakes and top to bottom. I mean, the fundamental changes for Destiny that happened, and this is kind of how I feel right now. Destiny 1, right? Destiny 1 had issues when the game first launched, and I hated it, right? And they kind of improved on it and fixed it a little bit, made it a little bit better, made it a little bit better, made it a little bit better. Taken King comes out, they changed a lot and made it a lot better. And the Taken King felt more like the game that they wanted to make originally. But think about where Destiny was in year one to where it is today, and how completely different the game is. I mean,
correct.
the stark contrast is insane. And I think that's the kind of change that we're going to see from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2. It's just, even though it looks the same, so to speak, it looks very similar, it's completely different. And it's going to completely change how you play the game. We're talking with the differences in the weapon slots. We're talking about the difference with the gear, even with the supers. And this is something that I kind of had a thought about. It's not confirmed. They haven't talked about it yet. It's a little nagging fear that I have in the back of my head because we haven't really, at least I haven't seen anything about it yet. Um, in Destiny year one, all the way up until the Taken King, we only had two supers. Uh, right now, I've only seen, you know, one. I've only seen one super from the Warlock, but we know for a fact that the Void Titan and the Striker Titan are still there. We know for a fact that the Arc Hunter and the Gunslinger are still there. We haven't seen the Void for the Hunter. We haven't seen the Solar for the Titan. We haven't seen the Arc for the
Mm.
Warlock. Is
And
that going to be later on? Is that going to be
I,
deal?
I would guess, looking at, okay, if they say Destiny 2 is going to be another 3-year plan or a 2-year plan or whatever they're deciding. I mean, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. You're going to have to eventually roll that out in a tiered platform the same way they did with Destiny 1. I mean, we started out with 2. It wasn't until the Taken King we got our third subclass. And, things started progressing along. I'm just hoping that, okay, we start out with less than what we had, but let's not forget the storyline here. Gaul comes in and basically takes everything away from us, destroys our tower, destroys our vaults, takes our light away, so on and so forth. And, I understand the theory with that, basically starting out fresh for everybody, which I'm not opposed to. PC gamers, they're going to be a huge part of this as well. And they didn't want to hold that back. But with all that, it's something that they're not going to be able to just take it all and throw it back into Destiny 2. We had a lot in Destiny 1. I mean, if you look at Call of Duty, you basically drive yourself up so many levels and you prestige and you prestige and you prestige and you prestige. And the following November, what happens? You set that game aside, you pick up the new one, and you start all over again. Nothing you had in the previous title carries forward.
And for the most part, no
Maybe
one says anything about that.
correct. And the biggest thing about this, though, and the one thing you got to realize is when Bungie first originally marketed Destiny, it was a 10-year game. And I think that's one thing that, in a sense, they're kind of losing here with this. When they marketed that and they showed those game clips and everything else, and E3 and the alpha and the beta and open world and all this other stuff, it drew in so many people because they're like, this is a game I can put time into, and that time is not going to be lost. I'm not going to lose these weapons. I'm not going to lose that. And then look at the outpouring and the outrage in year one when your 300 Fatebringer got dropped down to a 160, and then you had to get a Etherical Light to make it 170, and everything else started all over again.
I wouldn't know. I never had one of those in year one.
Well,
or year two, or well,
I know, but that's a story for another time. Didn't mean to rub you.
Thanks, man.
Anyway, and then we get to end of year 3 here, and we go into Destiny 2, and something very similar is going to happen. But I'm hoping that they have some kind of long-range plan for this. The one thing, you were talking about, accessible to the average of the casual game player, that really has me on a fence teetering right now is, the combined games or whatever they got going on for bringing some of the other people that have never been able to get to that end game content forward.
Right, the guided games.
Or guided games. My bad. They said, 50% of the people have never completed a raid, never got through trials and all this other stuff. That means there's 50% that did. Okay. During the Destiny drought, if Bungie didn't have those hardcore gamers that were putting in the buku hours, I'm one of them. I don't know if it would be where it is today. And if they put it towards more that casual gamer, that average gamer, giving them access to it, I really think a lot of wind is going to set out of their sails. Because for me, even with the April update, we had people up the wazoo that wanted to play, and now we're struggling sometimes to get a group of 6 together. I mean, we got guys, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But, I've got that, I'm done. And if you make it towards that casual gamer, their ability to get that so they don't, get on the Bungie forums and start complaining about it or Reddit or anything else. Yeah, you're not going to hear that, but you're going to hear something else no matter what. It was funny because
going to complain.
Yeah. I watched a year 1 video review, and as much as people sit down and say that they disliked year 1 in Destiny, or vanilla Destiny and all that other stuff, there's times in this game I really miss it. And the reasons why I miss it is, everyone said, oh, you had to grind for this. Oh, you had to grind for that, blah, 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 blah. But once you attained that Galahorn, that Icebreaker, that Crux to give you your Necrochasm, all those type of items, once you got it, and I was watching this year 1 video and watching guys get their Galahorn for the first time, or get this, or get that, or get their helmet, or the Vex Mythoclast from the Vault of Glass. To me, Bungie has lost that little bit even in Destiny 1, and I'm hoping that they have something out there in Destiny 2 to drive that, because I don't think if they had that going for them in year 1 into year 2 and onward to year 3, I don't think they'd be moving along as far as they have. And that's coming from me on, a guy that puts in buku hours into the game. And even though I've got most everything, I still put buku hours in because things aren't exactly the way I want them, so on and so forth. So
you're worried about they're them having an item to chase. You're worried about the things that are going to keep you in the game to chase.
Yeah,
and I would agree with that.
Absolutely. I mean, the only thing that you can really chase now in year 3 is what? And it's not even a weapon. It's not even a piece of armor.
Ship. It's the Nano Phoenix.
It's a ship. It's the Nano Phoenix.
So you think
don't get me wrong?
Make a move
I got
that?
the Nano Phoenix. What happened?
You lost it. I heard.
3 Sears in Tennessee were ringing for 5 days after the fact. Yeah, Priest, I'm talking about you on the podcast, buddy.
Oh. Wait, is that saying?
But that's it. That's the big driving factor that made Destiny as good as it is. And even to this day, my core guys on my raid team, between Icy, Priest, and Reaper, they're still trying to get that, and that's good, and so on and so forth. But I mean, think about it. If you go in and you get everything out of the raider, you get this, you get that, and you don't, we're talking about how they're changing no intellect, discipline, and strength, and we're going to armor, recovery, and agility. And I'm not casting a stone here or anything else, because we don't know how that's going to work. But those things allowed the player to modify that custom loadout to make them a better player, with the perks on the weapons and the armors and how that all ties in. That still may very well be there, but we know right now that the intellect, discipline, and strength are gone. It's been replaced by the armor, recovery, and agility.
See, now that's something that I'm kind of curious about, and something that they haven't really touched on, and that's if they'll have actual gear sets, like in Diablo 3, like in The Witcher, things like that, where you have a specific gear set, and they add bonus perks for having each piece, additional piece to that set, and if there's a way to improve on those or not. I think that would actually be a pretty good route for them to go if they're going to get rid of this whole like tier 12 setup that we have currently. Talking about the average gamer, I feel like Bungie's kind of doubling down on trying to be as inclusive to that average gamer as possible. And I mean, we're seeing that with us not being able to transfer weapons, items, gear from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2. The Grimoire score that we have and boast and brag about, oh, hey, I've got, 5,300. Oh, hey, I've got 5,500, blah, blah, blah. That's gone. And, I get the excuse that, yeah, that's not there anymore because we went with the story in the game where it should have been in the first place. But the reality is the average gamer is not going to have a score above 100, let alone 5,000. And obviously you can't alienate the average gamer because drawing them in means revenue. And, the PvE side of it, I think there's enough content that's going to be allowed in Destiny 2 to sustain a single player or a casual player, a casual gamer. But they're going to have enough interaction with randos in the social spaces, out in the wilderness with public events, things like that. They're going to get to see all these videos that are being made, or potentially friends that they have that they're not playing with currently, posting on Xbox and PlayStation. And I feel like they're trying to drive those individuals, those single players, into clans with these guided games, specifically, and especially with the in-game clan system that they have. I think they're hoping to turn some of these casual gamers into like the hardcore gamers. But you're right. What is there right now for the hardcore gamer to go after? What's there to chase?
And that's my thing exactly. Everything with the guided games, I think, is fantastic. Everyone talking about matchmaking, the raid, and all this other stuff. Well, the guided games is an excellent way to do that. Okay,
I think on its face it is, but I'm worried about its implementation, how it's really going to work.
It's really going to depend on the clans that are out there and who opens their doors or their arms to these people. There are times where it doesn't bother me to do a carry through a raid or anything else like that, and there's other times I don't necessarily want to do that. So I kind of, like I said, I don't want to pass judgment or cast my vote on really anything right now, because we've only had this 1 hour reveal, and as this goes on, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot more come E3 timeframe, it's one of those things. But as awesome as the game looked, as polished as the game looked, so on and so forth, that concern that a lot of people have is very much there. While some of the casual average players are like, yeah, that's good, that's cool, all great. I know a lot of hardcore players are like, oh boy, what is this turning into?
Well, I mean, in the end, how do you think it's actually going to affect the hardcore community?
Well, I don't think it's going to affect the hardcore community at all. At launch, this game's still going to be dynamite. You're still going to have people playing it. You're still going to have people that are going to be working together to get through things. I mean, look at the quest for Outbreak Prime. My God, that thing was unbelievable. And the amount of people that were involved with that to bring that to life and everything else like that was fantastic. And then that was a good thing. But the fact of the matter is, once it was out there, poof, it's like, okay, we're done.
Yeah. What's the next thing?
There was no longevity on that. And the one thing that Bungie's got to realize is, okay, yeah, you have that, like I said, you have that 50-50. So you're riding two sides of that sword. while you may bring in the other 50% of casual gamers and average gamers, you could very well be losing the 50% of your hardcore gamers that really kept your sales going this far along.
So what do you think?
So
What do you think they could do to help keep us involved and stick around past the outbreak prime stage, past the sleeper simulant stage, where oh hey we pushed a button and now you can go get it.
whatever you do in a game like this, you always have to have that carrot to chase. And lowering the drop and everything else like that, you got to realize something. As many people as you hear, and I'm going to bring this up to real life topic of the day. Okay, Nano Phoenix. A lot of guys want it. You always see polls. Well, how many people have actually got it? Blah, blah, this, blah, that. They need to increase this drop rate. They need to do this. They need to do this. They need to do that. But what does that do? Okay. It makes you play the game. It makes you play the game to get that item, to have those bragging rights, to display it when you're flying in game or anything else along those lines. Same way with any emblem, shader, so on and so forth. You know, you got a lot of people, especially a lot of these new, iron pups that are coming in. I've had quite a few guys that are in the tower, ask me this, ask that. I actually got in one Nightfall the other day with two guys. I had no idea who they were. And they said, you want to do a Nightfall? And I still had to do mine. Sure, why not? Every once in a while I like doing that just to see who's out there. Turn my mic on. They didn't turn their mics on, but hey, that's cool too. But I kept messaging them back and forth on my phone. Okay, this is what we need to do. This is what we need to do. And they're like, after that, thanks a lot. Da da da. But I don't know. There's a lot of animosity in with all this for me, because it's like I need more information. I could talk, and I don't want to say anything bad or wrong, because like I said, I love the game. I put a lot of time in the game. Got a good community, and some of the guys that we talk to, we play with, I don't want to sway one way or the other. But you got to have those items to chase. And if you don't have that, it turns into every other game. I mean,
I think
literally
it's
it
safe to
does.
say that we're gonna have those items. I mean, who doesn't want to chase that discounted T-shirt? Let's be honest.
Well, that
Half price
discounted T-shirt,
anyway.
boy, that's a burning and a half for you. Yeah. Hopefully, I'll be getting mine here very soon.
Yeah, that's probably why Peter Dinklage left. He's like, 3 years out, you're gonna give him a T-shirt at half price plus shipping and handling. I'm out.
I'd really love to know the story on that. Everyone says,
"Oh, he was so much hate from the community in general." Personally, this is just how I feel. I think he has so much hate, and he's such a. I don't want to say he's real big on himself, but. I think because of where he's at in his career with Game of Thrones, that he feels like he's at an elevated status and he's above this. Personally, I think he's more like Peter Dick instead of Peter Dinklage, and he's just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Nothing against Mr. North, but I think Dinklage did a whole lot better. I mean,
I'm not a big fan of Nolan North.
I mean, I'm not saying he's bad, but I mean, come on. Come on.
I'd take Dinklage, even though it was bad.
Is amazing.
I mean, come on.
That's terrible. Oh boy! All right.
Man, out of the ghost itself.
You know what's going to keep me playing this game is if they make a new enemy faction and name them the Iron Tapirs. Anybody that was trying to play Rise of Iron back in the day will understand what that is. So I'm just going to throw this out there, but this is just an aside to our current conversation. But I wanted to mention an article from Forbes by contributor Dave Thier. It's entitled "Destiny 2 on PC is going to cause a real problem for raids," and he talks about how PC players have a distinct accuracy advantage over console players, which is true. Mouse and keyboard versus joystick and D-pad are always going to win. And he's assuming that Bungie is not creating two separate raids, which I think is a pretty safe assumption, which would be one for console, one for PC. I don't think that's going to happen either. And he also assumes that the new raids is either going to be too easy for PC players or too hard for console players because they have to tweak both, given that this distinct accuracy advantage that PC has. My personal feeling on this is that that whole thing that he's talking about right there has already been addressed, and that's with the revamp of the weapon tree, where we move from primary, special, heavy into elemental, energy, power. And your sniper rifle, I don't know if people realize this or not, but your sniper rifle is tethered to the power side,
Yep.
which means your sniper is now in the heavy slot permanently. It's not going to be able to go into the energy or elemental. Your sniper is now, you're either going to use a rocket launcher, a grenade launcher, a shotgun, a fusion rifle, or a sniper. That is it. And I understand that the heavy ammo is dropping a lot more frequently. At least it was for
but
people who were getting to play.
There's a lot of changes with that, though. You know, the heavy ammo is going to drop more frequently, and it's going to drop in more places, but it's only dropping for whoever opens it up. Okay. And the cool thing that I saw with that, it only drops for the person that opens up. It calls out who picked it up, what weapon type they had, and where they're basically at on the map. So it's giving you a lot more detail on that. But it's like you said, you're not going to have these guys run around with icebreaker constantly, you know, sniping this, sniping that, because they ain't going to have access to it.
Exactly.
To get out there, they're going to have to engage. There ain't going to be that much sitting back and you know, posting up in positions. I mean, you still might be able to, depending on how the drops go, et cetera, but it's really been focused more towards that primary, which is now going to be called kinetic, or secondary, or which is now going to be called your energy slot.
Oh, I apologize. I did say elemental, energy, and power earlier. It was kinetic. You're right.
Kinetic is your primary, and then energy elemental is your secondary, and then your power would be considered your heavy when relating from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2.
Right. So you can't just cruise around with a God roll, LDR, longbow, or her benevolence, or whatever, if 500,000 yard stare, whatever it is that you're running around with, and a Galahorn. And specifically in the raid, I know that we have what's that raid sniper from Wrath of the Machine? It's excellent. It's excellent when you raid.
The raid sniper from
Wrath of the Machine.
Oh, why are you doing this and giving me?
I know. I should have looked it up earlier, but it starts with an E. Anyway, it's an excellent sniper, right? I mean, it refunds the shots, kind of like Black Spindle, but not. And
oh no, it has the weight. It'll give you the extra loadout.
And it reloads so fast. I mean,
yeah,
it's a beautiful gun. So you're cruising around with that in your sleeper, that in your Galahorn, and those days are gone. I mean, can you think about how that's going to just destroy the PvE side?
Well, here's the thing. I don't think it's going to destroy.
It's not going to destroy, but
anything.
That's going to be so hard to get used to.
It is going to be a change for those of us that have played Destiny frequently. There's going to be no doubt about it. You know, and it's like I said, I don't want to cast a vote one way or the other on this, because we have limited information in front of us. Where it's really going to hit, and where you're going to see a lot of changes happen, is during the beta. You might actually see a little bit more of that during E3. I don't know. We'll see what happens with it. That's why I'm just kind of uneasy about it. You know, does it look polished? Yeah, it looks polished. It looks good. Supers look incredible. You know, all this other stuff going through it. But how, what, why? You know, they made changes. They never really said why they made these changes.
Well, I think this is part of why. I think
and the PC gamer could very well be that.
But I also think this is also the changes being made, and it's something that's mentioned in the article, where they talk about how, I mean, look at this, the current meta in PvP and the state of shotguns. They're worthless.
Yeah.
I mean, they're basically worthless. You either use a sidearm or you use a sniper. And that's because they kept having to nerf them. Everyone's running around with a shotgun. They had to nerf the shotguns and nerf the shotguns and nerf the shotguns, and they buffed the shotguns, and then they nerfed them again because they're still broken. And now they're not broken anymore. They're broken because they suck. They got nerfed into the dirt. And I think part of the problem is that they want to get away from that. This is how they get away from that, by, hey, I mean, if it's in your heavy slot, Well,
Go ahead and
do
use
you
it.
want to use do you want to use your shotgun, or would you rather use your rocket launcher? I mean, or your grenade launcher? Hey,
I'm
or would
still
you like
trying to
to?
figure out why they got rid of HMGs.
I don't understand that
I
either.
love my Quillam's Terminus. I really do.
And that could come back. I mean, that could potentially come back, but I
Correct.
think that's another thing that's kind of broken in the PvP side, especially when you have 6-on-6. But now we have 4-on-4, so who knows? Maybe that's why they did it too. With 4-on-4, and you have a heavy machine gun. I mean, you could just keep that ammo for days.
The other thing I
Potentially.
thought about with that heavy dropping in multiple locations, you ain't gonna have that one void walker that comes around the corner and wipes out your whole 6-man fire team or 4-man fire team because it's dropping in one location.
Yeah, but that was
You'll
so satisfying.
It was.
Was
But
that
like I
happened to
said,
you?
everything that they're dealing with, and no matter how they do it, you're going to have two sides of that sword. So whether you're trying to get casual gamers, hardcore players, PvP, PvE, so on and so forth, there's going to be a give and go on either side of that spectrum. And some of the things that we loved in Destiny 1, I'm sad to say, the sun is setting on them for the way it looks.
Absolutely.
But I still think that they have the very much capability to sit down and put something else in that place that could be as good, just as good, or possibly better, and could be possibly worse too. I mean, for the most part, Bungie has done well for themselves in the 3 years of Destiny 1.
Yeah.
The player content, the initial release, just everything. It's like I said, watching that YouTube video on the review of year one was just, it made me smile. It really did, because it reminded me, man, how good, how aggravating and how good it was. The risk to reward type aspect, and not having it, and saying, "Gosh, dang it, I'm gonna have to come back again next week and try this over again."
Well, I'll tell
And
you
to
what,
do
man.
this, it's an experience like none other.
Right. And if they want to keep me involved and keep coming back, add a secret tapir level, because I'll be there. I'll be looking. If I got to do some math problems and stuff, figure that out, figure out how to get the secret tapir level, I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, and getting back to what we originally were talking about with the grimoire. I'm a little torn on that one too. Well,
you worked so hard for that.
I have. Well, I got a few things left to grab, but it kind of was your calling card.
Bragging rights.
Yeah, bragging rights. Exactly that. I know what I'm doing. I have this, or I have this shader, or this emblem. And shaders and emblems and stuff like that, they've been getting more and more casual. I mean, do you be point blank with it? Average. The only thing in year 3 that's you don't see all the time is the Nano Phoenix. That's it.
I kind of feel like that was the addition with this update is, hey, that's what you can chase now. Are these emblems?
Yeah.
Are these shaders? Are these ships? That way we can move away from things like the Galahorn, where it's like, hey, yeah, you can raid with this. Oh, you don't have a Galahorn. No, you can't. Sorry.
And it did. It alienated people without a doubt. But it also forced other people that didn't have it to play more in order to get that.
But some people couldn't. I mean, look at me with a Fatebringer. How many times did I run Vault of Glass and I can't even get a Fatebringer? I mean, there's so many people out there that struggled finding that Galahorn. I mean, how you think about how many times, and you have that charger luck, like you just you get your RNGesus. But for those of us that are not RNGesus and don't get God rolls every time we go into anything in the best weapons immediately, us average folk, it's like I don't know how many people get Fatebringers. Some people that had never even done Vault of Glass would get 2.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. They would get 2 Fatebringers and I would still have 0, even though I've run the raid like 24 times. And you talk about the Galahorn. How many Galahorns did you get before I even got one? And that's just you, but it's multiple people. It's like, hey, I got another Galahorn.
I thought,
good for
but
you.
I thought you might have had the Galahorn before. Because I mean, I did not get my first Galahorn until 800 hours into the game. 800 hours I had.
That's a lot of hours.
And it was on Urut doing Crota, and it dropped. I'm like,
You know what? That's
you
where I
know,
got mine.
and
Actually,
literally for me,
that's crazy.
I would be rolling in with Hunger or Crota, et cetera, et cetera. But what would normally get me into those raids is people would look up how many completions does he have. Well, he doesn't have a Galorn, but he's completed 24 times, 25 times, whatever it is. He's got the raid helmet, he's got the Mythoclast, he's got this, and there was different things. But the fact of the matter is, no matter if you're a hardcore gamer or you're an average gamer, we all start at the base 0. Okay. I've seen different posts on different guys on the forum, data this, oh, this sucks, this is this, this is this, this is that. And, there's sometimes where or at least me, I say, oh, we got 4 guys and I'm looking for a couple more. And I'll look on the forum and I see one guy's in here complain about this or complain about that. And I'll look him up to see what his stats are, to say, hey, maybe I'll grab this guy, I'll pull him in. Well, he's complaining he hasn't got this, and this, but he's only done the raid 2 times. And it's like, I don't know if there's just this thing of,
The expectation that you're just
self-righteousness, or, this is owed to me, this is due to me because I went in one time. And I'll tell you right now, if the game turns into that, it may be time for me to walk away, because literally that would be tragedy for me.
Just think about the lack of armor, specifically how rare armor drops outside of the Wrath of the Machine. I know there's some people that get lucky and, oh, hey, I got all these pieces in just one run or 2 runs. I was able to get my Warlock all geared out with all the Crota gear, but I'm still missing the chest piece on my Titan, and on my Hunter I don't have a lot of stuff, and I play with my Hunter probably more than any other character. So I feel like they've kind of learned how to mitigate some of that, and I hope they decrease the amount of weapons that they drop, because it's kind of ridiculous. But at the same time, I hope it's enough to make you feel like it was worth your time, not like, oh, hey, I got what were those moldering shards from King's Fall? Like, oh, I got some moldering shards for killing that boss. I killed a boss and I got moldering shards.
Well, we got a few guys that we play with, and they're sitting back saying, well, I got 200 moldering shards on this guy, 200 moldering. And I asked a simple question, why? And the only way you don't get rid of the molding shards if you don't beat Oryx. Well, this one guy would sit down and he'd play the whole game, but he would never fight Oryx. He's like, oh, it's not worth my time. It's not worth my effort.
Oh, what?
But then you're wondering why you don't have this or you don't have that.
But it is kind of, the point is, it's frustrating. Like, you kill War Priest and all you get is moldering shards. You kill Golgoroth, all you get is moldering shards. You get to Daughters and you get a Titan mark. And then you kill Oryx and, hey, I got a couple guns, or I got a gun, and maybe I got I don't know, a helmet. But that's, that is disappointing. When you literally drop and think about how long it could take to get through Oryx for some people. Some people were in there forever. Think about how long it took some people that we play with just to get through Axis Phase 2.
Yeah.
And this is multiple times that they struggle getting through that on hard mode. And you can spend hours and hours and hours, and at the end of the day, you spend all that time, and then all you get is a ghost shell.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Nightfall rewards too. It's like, hey, I go in and Nightfalls, I don't think they're outrageously difficult, but they can be challenging sometimes with the right burns. That's the reward that you get for your half an hour investment, or your 3 hour investment is this blah item, or this or nothing, basically. And it's like, come on, man.
And I can understand that, but I also look at the game in this aspect. Nothing is guaranteed.
No. Well,
the Nightfall
is now.
Well, yeah, but nothing is guaranteed. Yeah. I know you've said a lot of times, well, I don't want to do my Nightfall because I don't want my guaranteed ghost shell. And then boom, there you have it. You got yourself the 2015 emote package.
Yeah. Why?
But
Why wouldn't you want that?
hey,
Why wouldn't you? Hey, I don't have to spend that
you were
silver.
guaranteed
I
your
already.
ghost, and it guaranteed it didn't happen. But
Yeah,
uh,
I'll take the emote over. Yeah.
with that, okay, uh, going in and doing those aspects and running through all that stuff, for me, it was always about trying to be a better player and trying to get that good gear. A lot of people will sit down and they'll look at it, and if you say they go to gear sets that basically combine power and they basically reverberate off each other, if you will, to make your guardian stronger.
I don't
I
think
think
I've
that'd
heard
be
that word
something.
before, but I like it.
Uh,
Reverberate.
yeah,
I'm writing this down.
basically something that co-occupies one another and makes the unit or the assembly stronger in that sense. A lot of people, they get one chess piece and they're done. They get one, I got the helmet, I got the gauntlets, and chess piece and boots.
Yeah, I think I know
and the
this
class
guy.
time, I'm done. Okay, let's see. You're running a bubble titan, and you have solar increased armor when you're on a solar class. You're
That is
running a pulse rifle, and you have a sniper rifle loader on your gauntlets. You're in the raid, and you have Angel of Mercy on. What what is that? And a lot of people, I don't think, actually look into that aspect on how to build your guardian,
Yeah.
how to make him stronger in the raid, how to make him stronger at this. I look at specific items. The Wrath of Machine Gear armor is some of the best armor in the game.
I would agree with that 100%.
Okay, and the reason for that is you go in, okay, you get your Siva shards and all that other stuff, and you can re-roll that armor. And the nice part about it is, like, I've got on my Titan, I've got a max 100% chess piece, 8661. And for like the last Iron Banner, okay, I was running Solar Titan, and I had that set up. I put 15 Siva pieces into it. I re-rolled it, got it back on Striker Titan with Pulse Rifle and Sidearm. And oh, dude, it was beautiful. Beautiful. And I've left that there. And then I've got my hard raid mode chess piece for doing the hard raid, and it's set up for void, et cetera, et cetera. But doing all those things is what makes your guardian stronger. It's what's going to get you in those gun battles where if they're shooting you with an elemental primary or anything else along those lines. Now that we got adept weapons, both from the raids and trials of Osiris, or not, I shouldn't say adept elemental weapons from trials, but elemental weapons from the raids and stuff like that. That can make a big difference between those two, because if you have the armor that reduces your incoming arc damage, so on and so forth, that other gamer is not going to be able to do as much damage to you as what you normally would, because you've got the armor pieces that contradict what he's dishing out. So building your guardian and stuff like that is something that I really, really liked about Destiny 1. And that was one of the main things that still today makes me play and still go after those things, even though I've got all the armor or I have all this, et cetera, et cetera. I want that top tier chest piece, that top tier helmet, whatever else. Which reminds me, there's something else I got to add into this podcast. Little tip trade trick once we get to the end, but that to me is what Destiny 1 is.
I think personally it's going to help if they include, and I know I've already talked about this, but actual armor sets, and allow you the opportunity to re-roll certain perks on those sets, kind of like we had with House of Wolves, being able to re-roll perks on the guns. If they have something like that, I think that's going to extend the longevity of this game, kind of like it does for Diablo 3.
Well, and like I said,
Activision, I mean, why? I mean, it just makes sense.
I would make it like the Wrath of the Machine armor, though. You have to go in the raid and get a certain item from the raid,
and I would make it not look like Wrath of the Machine armor, because that stuff looks like garbage.
Yeah. But if they did something like that, that would be something that's a longevity move. You know, I mean, you think back to year 2 when you could go to the gunsmith and reroll any weapon that you wanted, and how desperately everyone was just looking for weapon parts. I mean, I remember playing patrols for hours hoping to get those dang blue Ingrams
So I
just
can
so I
get my
could
God
break the
roll spell
stuff
winner.
down so I could re-roll it. You do any of that stuff, even going into the raid, and you say, okay, I did all this time and this is what I got, blah, it's kind of like gambling.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of people that
It's addictive.
go into the casino or they go onto the boat and they got $250 in their pocket and they sit down at the blackjack table. They sit down at this, they sit down at that. And a lot of times they lose that $250 and sometimes they come out with $250 more or more than that. But you go there for the entertainment, you go there for the experience. And to me, the Destiny raids and all that other stuff, that's what that is, and I understand bringing those casual gamers into that mix to enjoy that facet of the game and expose that is an excellent idea. But I wouldn't scale everything back and just start handing it out like it's welfare where everybody gets everything because it's going to flush the hardcore gamers completely out of the mix.
Right. The more I think about it, the more I feel like they really, I think they will have something in place for us on the harder side. So that just sounded weird when I said it. I didn't even think about it.
Woo woo.
Yeah.
Well, with what we originally talked about, because we've gone all over the place on the PC aspect. Originally, I said I wouldn't even look at that, but the more and more I hear commentary on it, just night and day difference. I know your buddy Tefty, you don't care for him, but he said that thing was like liquid sex.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a graphic image.
Yeah.
So you're saying he really liked it?
I don't. Well, I've yet to hear one bad comment on it. And the fact of the matter is that they would not allow them to tape anything from the PC side of the format.
Really?
No, nothing at all. Makes you really wonder what's going on. It's true. It's not going to get launched on launch day, but like Mark Noseworthy said, they're doing a full suite of things. So the PC is still going to have all your shortcut keys, everything else underneath the sun.
I'm super curious to see how that port works and if it ports over well. I hope it does. But I mean,
if it does,
a PC that's going to be able to run something like that.
Well, and that's the whole thing. There was certain upgrades I was thinking about doing to my home unit. It's like, maybe I'll just sit back and wait a little bit here. Maybe I'll sit back and wait a little bit.
I'll just splurge that money on a Scorpio.
Well, that's another hope that I have. And with Luke basically confirming no 60 frames per minute on the PS4 Pro, and that they would not comment on the Scorpio, gives me a little bit of hope.
We'll see. We will see. Anything else you want to add to this conversation?
No, other than we were talking about those Wrath of Machine weapons and all that other stuff. There's a real easy way for anyone out there, and this could go back into the rumor mill if you want or what have you. There's a real easy way if you don't have a high class item, and what I mean by helmet, gauntlet, chest piece, boots, or class item, and if you want to go out there and get that, if you're like me, at the beginning of year 3, you couldn't get legendary marks. You couldn't get enough legendary marks. Now they're handing them out left and right. I mean, you got dailies, you have Prison of Elders, you have your PvP. I mean, there's all sorts of ways in order to get legendary marks. And one of the things that just me being the gamer that I am, I wasn't crazy about putting ornaments or the tokens into my armor unless it was, a high level item. Okay. Well, every week I have, I get up to 200 legendary marks. I got to go buy some more elemental, items, whether it be spirit bloom or helium filaments, turn it into my faction and rank that up and, get a package, get a gun I don't want and break it down for my 3 legendary marks just because I don't want to waste it. Well, I decided to test a theory just to see if you could actually get perfect gear out of the Iron Banner gear that you originally got at the beginning of the Rise of Iron. So you'd basically go back into your book and you would click on the package and they drop you, 3 sets of gauntlets, 1 for your hunter, 1 for your warlock, 1 for your titan. Well, what I ended up doing was I just ended up taking all those legendary marks, getting those packages over again, break down the other two, infuse my old Iron Banner item into my new Iron Banner item until I got the perfect roll. And I ended up getting perfect rolls on all my armor. Every single one of them, at least perfect or +1. Now, granted, I
this
probably
is you. This is
I-
you, Aren't Jesus. We bow down.
well, no, just there's a way to do it, because there are some people out there that are looking to get tier 12. Man, I can never get a set of 7956 boots or anything else like that. You got the legendary marks, and there's nothing that you want for the week. Clear out on that character. Make sure you got 3 open slots. Pick up that package. It'll drop down everything. As soon as you open the package, it'll open up at 3. Okay. You'll go in, delete the other 2 items, take the same item or whatever item you want that's at 400, infuse it into that level 3 item and see where you end up at. If it doesn't work, you go back up top, go back to your Rise of Iron book, pick up the boot package again, open it up, and just rinse and repeat. What you'll end up doing is you'll end up spending, I think it's 3 legendary marks, some armor materials, and some glimmer. But it's a real cheap and easy way to get perfect roll boots, class item, everything else. The only thing that you can't do that on is the ghost, because on the ghost they say you can only have one of those ghosts on each character, unless you got a bunch of ghosts sitting around in your vault or something like that. Then you could try that, but that's the only one I did not try. But like on my Titan, I've got 100% helmet, a 99% gauntlet, 99% chest, 100% boot, 100% class item. And I'm just basically slowly going through all those, and then I'm going to take those ornaments and put them on that armor. So I'll have that, tucked away in my vault, real nice and neat.
That's pretty cool, man. I did not know that. For me, it just seems like I need to go outside, do like some kind of Indian rain dance, and just hope for the best.
Hey,
Shoot like a fire arrow to the sky. I don't know.
If that works for you, this RNGesus here has never done that, but hey, I'm not going to stand in your way.
We're not worthy. All right, man. I think that's going to do it for this episode. If you like what you hear, we'll be dropping this as an audio podcast on iTunes here pretty soon. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. We are new to this, still trying to get everything figured out. If you have any questions and would like us to answer them on air, you can feel free to email us at destinyexpanse@gmail.com. That's destinyexpanse, all one word, @gmail.com. Next week, we will be diving in deep with the changes to supers and armor. Joe, always a pleasure, man.
Likewise here. Glad to be part of it.
Absolutely. Fun fact of the week, banging your head against a wall can burn 150 calories an hour. So just think how much I can burn in one game of Trials. We'll be back next week. Keep it tuned. No die strat. Catch you guys later.